And I like stories, and I like true stories. I like story
Yeah,
like origin stories. Like, how did we get here? You know, how did
yeah,
all of this come about?
for sure.
Um, and so yeah, Zeitgeist was one of the
Hmm.
ones that I saw before Kymatica, which I think Kymatica is, as far as documentaries go, I would say that's the one that I would recommend to anybody at any time, period. Um, but like I said, money was kind of my in, and then to hear, you know, and this information came along later along the line for me, but 2.3 trillion or 2.1 trillion publicly announced missing the day before 9/11. I guess I don't know the exact date of the Solari report that showed 21 trillion in total accounting adjustments or
Unaccounted general
whatever the
adjustments. Yeah.
yeah,
The
missing
bullshit gap
basically.
term, generally accepted accounting principles. Yeah, it's their way of saying, uh, we're doing all kinds of shady shit with it and don't ask questions. We lost it. It's like, yeah, it's so ridiculous. It's when people really look at it, yeah, it's pretty. It's yeah, it can
And
make you
then
mad maybe.
like even the word trickery between like million, billion, and trillion, like they all sound alike, the illion, you know, but it's like
True.
a
Yeah.
million seconds is like 11 and a half days, and a billion seconds is like
It's that
31
word magic,
years.
son. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
then a
No,
trillion and then 21 trillion, like
it
I
really
don't
needs to be
think,
like you need to say 999 million. Like really to like
yeah.
I think yeah, I know what you mean. But it is these weird subtleties that can make us kind of just gloss over like, oh, okay, that's it. Wait, how much was it? Like a lot of times it's like, oh, it just gets so normalized and it's like, oh, another billion missing or the Pentagon or this war, or the F-35 is causing and it's just like that's part of it is like they want to just beat you down. It's this war of attrition until they're like, just no, no, state, no. And then finally you're just like, all right, all right, all right, all right. Enough, I'm good. And some people are like, no, fuck that. I'm grabbing it and I'm in back. Or
Yeah, I'm gonna
I don't
keep
know,
talking
not
about it until we
yeah,
figure it out.
direct action. Like the Gandhi or Dr. King approach. No, fuck that. We're gonna walk to the sea in the salt march, or we're gonna walk in the streets. But I've recently become really more inspired about direct action versus civil disobedience. So that's another tangent too.
Well, yeah, so I guess I want to hear you just kind of go a little bit deeper. I heard you mention Richard Dolan earlier. I remember that Richard Dolan, Catherine Austin Fitz interview being a big part of the
Mm.
UAP disclosure series on, I guess that was Awakening Infinity series, or was that just like a Ben Stewart podcast thing?
That was a Ben Stewart podcast, but it was the disclosure series. And I've been really itching. We got to get some guests specifically in that field on, because I like to keep kind of a diverse portfolio of the content, and so does Ben. But yeah, so we definitely like we're gonna try to get Danny Sheehan, Richard Dolan, and Catherine Austin Fitz are the three ones. And we know people, Foster and Kimberly know Danny and them, so Ben can just try to get like a warm introduction because we I think sent an email but haven't heard back. But yeah, so Catherine really she covers the financial angle. Dolan really covers the sort of physical assets angle and historical angle. And Joseph Farrell, somebody else who's pretty strong as well on like the historical angle. And sort of side note tying into you though, I actually got into this more from the whole I guess you could say conspiracy or just really finding out what the fuck's going on. I got in that more from the finance too as well because that was my background and understanding the creation of money, the Federal Reserve, all that. And then I was working with a guy in LA, and I remember specifically, because our brain actually catalogs I found out in neuroscience, like it'll attach a lot more neurochemicals to the most meaningful memories apparently. So that's why like certain memories just like you get this neurochemical juice on them when you think of it. And this one, this dude Nathan I worked with was like a graphic artist. I was working for like a tech/fashion startup, and he's like, yeah, like somehow we got on topic of aliens, and I think we've been smoking a little herb. And he's like, yeah, like the Greys. And I'm like, what? Because that was the first time I heard like a name like Greys. What are you talking about? Like gray aliens? He's like, yeah, man. And he started kind of a little like hesitant, but he stood his ground. He's like, yeah, like there's the big one people talk about are the gray aliens. And I'm like, all right, bro. Like, it sounds kind of fucking out there. Like, are you fucking serious? Like, I was like, he's holding the ground. Like, all right, I'm gonna fucking, I'm gonna look into this. I'm gonna really take this seriously. And yeah, I did. And if you really do, I think most people, if you really do look at it and know the right resources, I tend to think I'm pretty good at researching. Like, It's hard to
So
deny. I started going, oh shit.
I mean,
Oh man.
this is like the big reason why I got you on though, because I've been hesitant, to talk about the extraterrestrial topic, although
Gotta
cover
rip it
pretty
off,
much
man.
everything, and
Rip off the band-aid.
I'm not scared to go there, but I do know that even some of my friends that are, willing to listen to me when it comes to some subjects. When you start talking about aliens, it's kind of just like your reaction to your friend. It's like
You
even
take
the
it
most
slow.
open-minded person is going to
Yeah.
be like, yeah, I'll look into it. You know what I mean?
You got to take
But
it slow. You got to
and
take it
that's why I
slow.
started with the money,
Yeah.
because what
Yeah.
convinced me is $21 trillion. Like when you really understand how much $21 trillion is,
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
they could be fucking making
Oh, it's more
aliens,
than that
dude.
now, by the way. It's way more than that by now.
For sure, for sure. Yeah.
It's now up to 28, 30. They're saying the professor who worked with her. So it's more than our total debt, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, there you go, right there. And then, I mean, just think about what $1 billion. So just think about Tesla, the company, or Apple, the company. These are companies valued at several billion, or in Apple's case, like one of the first companies to hit 8 trillion. Amazon, 8 trillion. Amazon, Apple, Google, take like the first like 30 companies that you can think of that caliber, combine their total value, and it is not how much is missing
Yeah.
from the Pentagon.
Yeah.
That's just fucking, I
I mean, the only
really
way you
can't
the only
emphasize that
I mean,
enough.
the only way you can do that is you have the ability to create money, which they do, right? I mean, at this point, because we got the gold reserve and we've changed the entire monetary system, the only way you could do that is you say, hey, I'm just going to print a shit ton of money, and a private company can't do that. That's called counterfeiting, and you'd get arrested very quick. So, that's the only way. And clearly, I know I studied modern monetary theory. That was kind of my specialty in economics. And just like I studied open market operations, I knew all about the reserve rates, all that jazz. But none of it matters if you don't understand the real underlying systemic flaw within it. And the Bank of International Settlements, understanding where it all leads back, Geneva, Switzerland, these places that aren't touched by regulations, that are their own jurisdictions, their own cities, just like Vatican and in DC, and it allows for this kind of systemic corruption. And even the most hardcore free market capitalists, I find it really hard to really have them argue to me that even right now, like we don't have a free market. This is a complete rigged economy, complete crony capitalism, and I really found this too from studying Michael Tellinger and Ubuntu and understanding the very traces of fiat currency going back to Babylon and understanding the whole lineage as far back, and then understanding how important it is when it comes to financing wars, and understanding the corruption between big corporations and bank families and dynasties like Prescott Bush or General Motors. They didn't care who they associated with, whether it was Nazis, fascists, whatever party, as long as they were making money. Money was the almighty power, and that still is the
IG
case.
Farben.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
IG
So
Farben patent
that
is like the
that's how these
smoking gun there,
that's how these cats roll, man. I mean, they a lot of them, unfortunately, are that small percentage that I believe are psychopathic, sociopathic. They don't actually feel empathy and emotion. I mean, it could explain a lot for why they can do the things they do, because they don't think like you and I. They don't have the empathy to say, that's horrible. What I've caused possibly thousands, millions of people to die for my actions. No, I don't feel that. I mean, so I would hope to think that, honestly, because if they do feel it and they're still okay with it, that's almost even worse. But it is what it is. It helps us recognize and hopefully create a better system